Hello, everyone. I am Marcus Trevetti here today, joined by special guest Neil Hartman, the director for the Center for Sports Communication and Social Impact at Rowan University, and also a director at Play by Play Sports Broadcasting Camp and a former anchor at Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia. Neil, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Marcus. It's great to talk with you.
Great to talk with you as well. Obviously, you've been a mentor for me and a mentor for a lot of kids at broadcasting camp, especially also being a teacher at college. Can you share us a story just on your life, on how you got into sports media, how you advanced, and where you are today?
Yeah, so I was lucky. I started when I was 14 years old, just a little younger than you, around your age. And I had a high school radio station in Westport, Connecticut. Was able to get involved in doing games on my high school campus. And that at the time was one of only 100 radio stations, high school radio stations in the country. So I was really fortunate at the time. And then I went to work for a local radio station in Westport, and then went off to Ithaca College to pursue television, really. And at Ithaca, was able to do games for Cornell University and interned for ABC Sports at the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid. I interned for ESPN in 1981. ESPN, do you know what year it started, Marcus? What year did ESPN start?
I know it was, I think, in the 90s. I'm gonna say
No,
no,
79.
79. Wow.
1979. So
I
the
know
fall of
some of the
79, ESPN started. I started in January of 81. I was one of their first interns ever. So I was there for about 7 months and really enjoyed that experience. But when I left Ithaca College, I went to work in television with the ABC affiliate in Springfield, Massachusetts, the NBC affiliate in Toledo, Ohio. Then I came to Philadelphia in the late 80s, where I worked in a number of different stations. And my last stop was with Comcast Sportsnet, which is now NBC Sports Philadelphia. And I was their main anchor there for 19 years. So there a long time, and got involved in higher education about 9 years ago. And I've been doing the camps. I was one of their first speakers for play-by-play sports broadcasting camps in 2002. And now we're in our 25th year of running camps. And now I'm on I think it's my 8th or 9th year. Boy, I lose track of being a camp director and going around and doing the camp that you go to in Chicago.
Yeah, I remember meeting Michael Kim from obviously Play by Play Camps, who
Yeah.
was one of the main anchors for ESPN, like when they first started. And also, obviously, you worked with people that are in the Chicago industry now uh, as an anchor in Philadelphia. And I mean, I'd say that city really grew you. And I, what I'm going to start with the Q&A portion. How much is the city of Philadelphia a piece to you?
Well, I'm not from here, and a lot of people think I'm from Philadelphia, but I'm not. But I've been here for more than 30 years, 35 years. So I've become pretty much a staple here. It's home now. My kids were born here. So I've been living here a long time. My wife's from the Philadelphia area. So this is home. Even though I did grow up in Connecticut and I still have some friends back in Connecticut, I'm really a Philadelphian. And I love it here. It's been great. Been treating me really well in my career, and was able to move around from one TV station to another, radio stations along the way, working sports talk radio. And now to be able to work a second career in higher education, I just feel really fortunate that it's worked out the way it has. But I love visiting Chicago, Marcus. Don't get me wrong. It's a good spot. I like Chicago a lot.
Speaking of Chicago, I know with Comcast Sportsnet, you worked with Marshall Harris. He's at ABC Chicago now. He was a guest speaker at our camp. But at the same time, also, I mean, I'd say both of you are mentors in your industry. I know he went to Chicago to be a director of CBS, then went to ABC. I'd say he's playing a big piece in helping Ryan Cheverini step into his stones at ABC and being what he is for all of us sports fans in the Chicago area. And obviously now you're a teacher at Rowan University, and you actually teach a lot of your students from play-by-play camps. So what does being a mentor look like through your lens specifically?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the most enjoyable part of the job, is having an impact on young people's lives. I had a 35-year career as an on-air broadcaster, radio and television, so I feel very fortunate to have had that career. and now to have a second career in higher education. I got involved about 9 years ago, started at Temple University, and then came here to Rowan University 7 years ago. And I oversee the sports communication and media program. The center supports that sports communication media program. So I work with a gentleman that has a PhD, and he handles the curriculum. I kind of handle all the other elements to the program. And a big part of that is mentoring. I mentor a lot of students. We have great guest speakers here that I'm able to bring, just like what we have at camp in Chicago, right? We have a lot of great guests in Chicago. And then also partnerships with some really, really fabulous partners, teams that are allowing our students to have these great experiences, scholarships, anything I can do to help make it a really meaningful experience for the students. One of our former Chicago campers is here, Alan Wiley, who you know, as a blind broadcaster, has gotten an enormous amount of attention. He does broadcast both the Blue Coats, which is the Philadelphia 76ers G League affiliate, and he also does the Wilmington Blue Rocks, which is the Washington Nationals high single A affiliate. And he does color for both those games. He's been doing it now he's in his second year of the Blue Coats. We'll see what happens. He has to audition for the Blue Rocks. That's coming up in about a month or so. But he's been a great addition to our program here at Rowan. But I do teach. I'm mainly an administrator, but I do teach. I think it's important to get in the classroom, get to know the students. Just like at camp, it's important for me to get to know all the campers that are there. So I get a chance to get to know all you guys. So it's the best part of the job is having an impact on their lives, helping them figure out their career path and to try to set them on their way, hopefully in a very positive way when they graduate here from Rowan University.
Yeah. What's your message to someone who aspires you and looks up to your feats and accomplishments and the connections that you have, even the people that just know you from things that, like, I would say are like the cultural famous for, like being in specific sports media zones. Obviously, we'll get to it later. If you didn't know before, Neil is the person that asked Allen Iverson the question about practice. And I'd say that was not only was it a defining moment for your career, for his career, but or even the 76ers organization in general, it was a defining cultural statement based on how important sports figure is to a team, or just someone that is assigned a head role, that they don't necessarily have to be the leader, and that there's different categories for how you're affected when you have a talent above anyone else. But specifically going back to that question, those feats that people aspire from you, what would you say about that?
Yeah, sometimes, look, that moment that you referenced, the Allen Iverson practice, was kind of a innocent moment, what I thought was a appropriate question kind of turned into a circus. And, that happened in May of 2002. You weren't even born. And, here, all these years later, people know about practice. If you say the word practice, a lot of times players, even today, will go, practice, not a game. We're talking about practice. Ironically, the Sixers, that 2001 team that Allen was the lead player for and won MVP that year when they went to the NBA Finals against the Lakers, they were just honored here in Philadelphia 25 years later to recognize them. So that was a nice that all those guys were back, and Allen is still beloved here in the city of Philadelphia. But I think from a broadcaster standpoint, or for anybody that goes into this industry, I think there's a couple things that are important for you to keep in mind. You're going to be doing this every day of your life. So you have to accept the fact that you're going to be working weekends, working late hours. It's a time-consuming business. And I'm sure there's a lot of businesses that could say the same thing. I just know this industry. And for someone that wants to work in sports, you're going to be going to, working on holidays and weddings, and you're going to miss all these things. But if you're passionate about it and you enjoy it, then it's you're not really missing all that much. I mean, yes, you want to be with your family, but you also understand there's a job to do. And people like watching sports when there's holidays, when there's nighttime, when there's weekends. That's when you work. I worked weekends, half my life I've worked weekends. So that's a big part of it. The other thing is the competitive part of it. This is a really, really competitive business. Think about it. Everybody wants to be in sports. They love sports, even though they might not really pursue it hard. They still think, man, that would be so cool to do that job. And a lot of people want to do that. So it makes it really competitive to land one of those jobs. So if I can offer some advice to a student that can help them kind of navigate this really treacherous path that they're going on in a career that they really are passionate about, hopefully I can help them, achieve their dreams.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you already do that. I mean, I'll take what Neil said and put it in my shoes. I just discussed with Neil that I'm going to be a broadcaster pretty soon for my high school for their spring sports. We didn't have a program, but we have the camera crew and we're working on getting me as the guy to call the games. But again, that even though it's high school, it takes work. I'm going to have to know people from other teams. I'm going to have to know their players, who their better players are, who's playing and who's not. And I was talking about this with my dad. It's very minuscule, but like I'll have to go to some practices and see uh, the guys that are pitchers. Like, what are they throwing? What types of pitches do they have? So that way, like if I'm on the air and I see a breaking pitch, I don't call it a fastball or something. Because it's about getting the little things right, is what I've learned from guest speakers and from practice on my own. And
Yeah, it's probably, Marcus, something that is undervalued.
I agree. Yeah,
I think it's important that you get things right. This day and age, people want to get things out first, but make sure you get it right.
exactly.
And you made a good point. If you're doing play-by-play and the pitcher throws a curveball and you say it's a fastball, I mean, it's not the biggest mistake in the world, but you want to be as accurate as you can. And if you watch a pitcher, maybe on watching them the game before, or you're watching tape on this particular player, you might have a little better sense of their pitching motion and what they might throw, and you're going to learn a little bit about them. That's part of the research. That's part of the work that you do preparing to do a game. And so then maybe you'll have a better way of identifying what's a fastball, curveball, or slider, whatever. So I think that's something that's important for any broadcaster to learn, but it comes with doing the homework. And a lot of times people think, oh, you just go to the game, you sit down, you call a game, oh, it's easy. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And you've learned this from the guest speakers that we've had at our broadcasting camp in Chicago. You've heard our play-by-play guys, no matter the sport, they're preparing all the time for that next game. If it's an NFL broadcaster, they're getting ready. Game's over Sunday, Monday morning, they're getting ready for their next opponent the following weekend. And there's a whole process to preparing to be ready to call that game the following weekend. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more than people think, but it's the broadcaster's job to make it look like it's easy. Oh, this is great. I'm just sitting here in a booth calling a game with all this excitement. Yeah, there's a little work involved with it too.
Yeah, and obviously you were an anchor. This is more of a technical question, but how were you able to base your scripts on a consistent basis? And what people don't know is obviously as an anchor, you're reading off the teleprompter, but usually you're also writing your own script or someone that you know it and is writing it for you. But at the same time, you might say a word differently because it's just human nature on how you like to speak or how you would like to say something. But at the same time, being an anchor, you have to report the news in a way that people are going to be interested in. So how are you able to differ that in all the years that you were an anchor?
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, I've been fortunate in my career to have been an anchor for a long period of time, but I've done my share of reporting in the field. And then I was able to do the Philadelphia 76ers for a couple of years, did Temple basketball for a year on radio, Sixers on television, a lot of college basketball on television. So I've pretty much been able to, that's one of my strengths, honestly, is my versatility. I don't think I was great in any of them. I think I was pretty good in them, but there's certainly people that you could find and identify in each of those areas that were better than me, but maybe couldn't do everything that I could do. As far as the anchoring is concerned, I would do hour-long shows, and an hour-long show, think about it, we went on at 10 o'clock at night or after a Sixer game or Flyer game. We would come on, or a Phillies game, and we come on, and then we go for about an hour afterwards. You can write certain scripts for sure, but there's going to be games that are finishing while you're still on the air. So you are reading other people's, their copy, what they wrote. So that is a little bit of a challenge, and you have to learn how to adapt to different people who put things together. I don't mind ad-libbing when I'm doing the highlights. Some people wanted to see word for word what they had to say. For me, I was fine. Just give me kind of what we would call a shot sheet and kind of lay out what's happening before, after, or during the play, and that type of thing. But from a script standpoint, you do have to keep it entertaining and informative so that the audience listens to everything that you have to say. And you don't want to be too long-winded about something. Some people have writing styles that are a little more humorous. I think you might have heard this before, Marcus. When I'm at camp, I say I'm kind of a meat and potatoes guy. I'm going to deliver you the information. I'm going to deliver it you accurately with a little bit of oomph here and there. I'll throw my little zingers, but I'm not the cutesy guy that says all these little sayings. And some people do that. That's fine. It works for them. It's not me. So be you. Whatever you is, whatever you are most comfortable doing, do that. And that's what I think I would tell most broadcasters, or frankly, all broadcasters: be yourself, and it'll come across on television that way.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, the last part that we talked about is that being a broadcaster or being in sports media, it takes time, it takes courage, and you have to be away from family, miss weddings, all that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like at some capacity, you're making that up with all the connections you make. And that's really what sports media is about, is making connections. It's not just the people in your field. You're also making connections with athletes, with head coaches. And the reason I wanted to ask you this is because you're someone who has just as many connections as someone could aspire to. You still have contacts with Charles Barkley. You still talk to him. You were able to sit down at a dinner with Michael Jordan. I remember all these stories that you shared with us. So I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit and just, what is it like to have these connections? And like, what are just some of your best stories that you have?
It just kind of comes with the job. It's not like I go into a season, or when I was younger. I'm a couple years older than Charles Barkley, but I started covering the Philadelphia 76ers when I came here to Philadelphia in 1989. So I was covering Charles. He was emerging as one of the better players in the NBA. And we just kind of hit it off. We played a lot of golf together early in his career. And then we maintained a really good relationship even when he was traded to Phoenix and then played at Houston. So we've been very good friends for a long period of time, and still to this day. We play golf during the summertime, and we stay in touch quite a bit. And so that relationship is really important to me, and he's a wonderful guy and a loyal guy, and really enjoyed that relationship. You mentioned the Michael Jordan dinner. I don't know if Michael Jordan would have any idea I was at the dinner, but the dinner was during the NBA Finals in 1993, and he was at his restaurant in Chicago at the time. I know that restaurant's not there anymore, but Charles was in there with Michael Jordan, Mr. Jordan. Michael's dad was there. Magic Johnson, Quinn Buckner, David Falk, Michael's agent, Rex Chapman, a couple others I think I'm missing in there. But Michael had a private dining room, and Charles brought me in there. And that was my experience of being in a dining room. And I just sat there in the corner, and I did not say a darn thing. I just took it all in. And I was there, actually. My brother was with me. And Charles brought me in. He didn't bring my brother. He left my brother out in the main dining room, and I went into the Michael's private room. So anyway, that was a unique experience. It was one that I was glad I had a chance to do. It's pretty unique, pretty special, particularly having Mr. Jordan there. And so it was. They were teasing Charles to no end about that he had not won an NBA champion. Quinn Buckner had won one. Won an Olympic gold, I guess, at the time, and he had won a national championship in Indiana. He was a really good player back in the day. And Magic had won. Was it? I'm pretty sure Magic, Michael. I'm trying to think who else. There was somebody else with a ring in there, but all just teasing Charles. Like, Charles, you're never going to win a ring. You're never going to win a ring. Mm-hmm. And he never won a ring. And they all did. They all had rings. So they were just hitting them hard. But those relationships just kind of organically happen. I do have a lot of friends that are, to this day, that are former athletes, management. I just had the other day here at Rowan, I have this thing called Pizza with the Pros, where I have sports industry professionals that come for 10 straight weeks right here on campus. And I had the president of the Philadelphia Flyers here the other day, Keith Jones, was a well-known broadcaster for TNT and ESPN, and did a lot of games over the years. and now he's the president of the Flyers. He's now in his third year. But he was here. It's a question and answer, very similar to what we do at camp, Marcus. And so I do bring those, and then I have my big guest speakers that I'll bring. I had Stephen A. Smith here, and Charles has come here. Charles was here in September. And then Brian Dawkins, another great Eagle, former Eagle. So I bring these high-profile guests as well here that we get about 800 people in an auditorium that we have these speakers at. So they're friends. They do me favors. I think I've always been a fair broadcaster. I maintain relationships and keeping communication with these guys. I think that's another important part. You mentioned before about the connections. That's great, but you got to also work at it. It doesn't just happen, and you got to maintain these connections. And I think I've been able to do that, and it's served me pretty well.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to work on my connections and find my way to keep on climbing the ranks, because that's what you have to do in this industry. But at the same time, I think the most important thing to take away is like, people always talk about how much athletes get paid, that head coaches are talked about in the media every day. And that obviously the media carries a lot of weight for the average person, and that we do work in the media. But at the same time, you have to realize at the end of the day that these people are just regular citizens, regular people that just live their everyday lives just like you and I do. So, and I don't know, I find that kind of cool and warming. Like, I find it cool that it's like we're all this. I mean, we're all different, but we're all the same too. So
yeah, athletes are. Sometimes you forget how young they are when they're thrust into the spotlight. We've got the Olympics going on starting this weekend, and there's going to be gymnasts that are probably 18 years old or whatever, and they've got the world watching them. 18 years old. I mean, just a few years older than you. I mean, think about that. You're going to be out there.
I mean, a guy like Cooper Flagg, he's been at the top high school basketball program, best college basketball program, or one of the best, now in the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA, all in just 3 years. And he's, I think, only 4 years older than me. or 4 or 3 years older than me.
Now, the only difference here is that over time, he has been on the spotlight for many, many years. I'd say a good 5 years he's been, highly talked about. I mean, I started hearing about him, in his high school career. You started hearing about this guy, Cooper Flagg. So he's been in the spotlight for a while. So I think it's harder for an athlete when you go from nowhere, or anybody really, when you go from nowhere to here all of a sudden, and it's like, ooh, now I'm in the spotlight. I think that's a harder transition rather than someone that kind of slowly ascends to the top, or somebody that becomes a first round pick or something like that kind of has been working at it over time, instead of this all of a sudden this overnight sensation that can occur.
And it's good to know like the difference, and it's good to know how to balance that with when either you're interviewing the person, talking about them, or even writing about them.
Yeah. I mean, you said before, they're just like us. I mean, they are just like you. I mean, they have issues and problems. I was just on a call earlier today about a group that's trying to help out alumni from different sports here in Philadelphia, whether it's the Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, or Eagles, and trying to help out these former athletes, because a lot of these athletes, when they retire, that's really retire from their sport at, say, 36 years old. Like, now what do you do the rest of your life? Now, in many cases, these guys have made an enormous amount of money. However, a lot of them have not done a good job managing that money. And also their mental makeup is going to be messed with, because for their whole life, you're going to go here at this time, practice is here, then we're going to go here. Will we bring you this dinner? And, all these things are catered for them. And then all of a sudden it's boom, your career ends. And now what do I do? I got to now take care of all this. And some guys just don't handle it well. They miss the crowds. They miss the adulation. They miss the relationship they have with their teammates. That's a big part, missing that locker room atmosphere, being around your teammates. So it is a factor for some of these athletes when they retire. And it's probably the numbers, it's higher than most people would think about who struggles, whether it's in your personal relationships, financial situation, all these things come into play for athletes when they retire.
I agree. All right. And last but not least, I feel like I just have to because it is the week. It's Super Bowl week. Can you give me a prediction on who you think is going to win in the score?
You know what? It's weird. I saw the New England Patriots week 2 in Miami. My son works for the Miami Dolphins. He's a scout for the Miami Dolphins. And I went to that game, and or was it week 3? Maybe it was week 3, whatever. It was no, week 2. Week 2. And at that time, we weren't really expecting all that much for New England. I mean, you would think Buffalo would win the AFC East.
Yeah.
So New England took a big lead. Miami came back, took a lead, and then New England took the lead back. And I'm like, man, that was such a winnable game for the Dolphins, who, as you know, turned out to be a couple games below 500.
And that was also after the Patriots had lost to the Raiders too. So
yes, correct. So I'm not thinking the Patriots are going to be all that good. The Dolphins lost to the Colts and got hammered in their first game. So I'm thinking like, all right, we should have beaten this team. They're not going to be that good. Well, lo and behold, surprise, they were good. And they went all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think New England is a team that's overachieving, I would say. I think Drake May's been pretty good. I think Vrabel's a great coach. I even liked him when he was in Tennessee. So I think he's done a marvelous job. But Seattle, to me, just watching them in these playoffs, they just look like they've got it. They look pretty nasty. I mean, I'm not sold on Sam Darnold. I don't think anybody is, but he is getting the job done. So give the guy credit. And that defense is pretty good too. So I think Seattle will win this game. Yeah. I'm sorry?
I said when you get a throw to a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba too.
He's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good. When they got rid of DK Metcalf, you're going like, what are they doing? One of the best receivers. No, they're just fine. They're good at wide receiver right now. So I would go with Seattle right now. I do a camp in Seattle. So I was hoping actually it would have been pretty cool if the Mariners could have made the World Series. You get the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I mean, camp will be pretty good in Seattle this summer for me. So no, I'm kind of rooting for Seattle. I do think they're the better team. I think the line was about 4.5, 5. So most people think that Seattle is the better team, but you never know in a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
A couple of turnovers here and there, and it can turn everything around.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold, he does that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
He'll throw a ball in some traffic to change the momentum of a game, but I still think Seattle's the better team. They should win.
I agree. I'm going to overall take Seattle, but at the same time, I think it could be a Super Bowl similar to the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl, where it's like we're not seeing the familiar faces like the 49ers, Chiefs, and Eagles. And it's like we know that the NFC side is a pretty dominant team, and the AFC side has been really tricky. Like no one thought they were going to be that good. Then they tricked everyone. They were good, and they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. And obviously Joe Burrow kept that game close, which I still think is an incredible feat, playing under an O-line like that and taking 9 sacks 2 games prior. But
yeah.
Despite the fact that was a good game.
I do think if Bo Nix didn't get hurt, I think you would have seen Denver in the finals.
I agree. I
think you would have seen Denver there, but injuries are part of the game. It happens, and that's still a team that look out for Denver. I think they've got a pretty good thing going on there. And I do a camp in Denver too. Look at all my camps. Chicago, man. Oh my gosh, the Bears game. Wow. Oh my goodness, that was the greatest. That was wild, man. That was wild. The playoffs been pretty good. Pretty good.
I broadcasted that Bears-Packers game on this channel.
Nice. You must have been going crazy.
I was.
Yeah, but you got to finish the job.
Yeah,
you got to finish the job, and they had a shot.
They did more than one, I would say.
That's a poor decision, but things happen.
It is what it is. All right. This has been a great interview. I was excited to rekindle with you, excited to share your story out to my followers and to the people that watch these videos. And it was just a fun overall experience to talk just about the industry with you. Thank you so much.
Marcus, I give you all the credit in the world. I love what you're doing. I'm glad that you've been a loyal camper for us in Chicago for many years. You got a bright future in this business. I hope I can help you along the way. And I'm delighted to be part of your podcast and be part of what you're building here. It's been great to catch up with you.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.